You did mention obviously issues with PSA. So just for those people that are unaware, do you want to just talk about what's been happening with PSA damaging cards and things like that?
Yeah. Okay. So it's pretty out there now. People are probably quite aware, but for those that aren't, the top right corner on the backs of cards is getting nicked right now. So New Jersey is their most recent location for grading, and it's pretty much just a bulk tier at the moment. But there has been thousands now of cases where that top right is being nicked, and I think the PSA have admitted that they're at fault. There is an issue there, and they are starting the process of like, you know, getting people to send cards back, which, as you know personally, takes ages. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to take for just they were having cards come back when they didn't announce that there was an issue, but now they've announced that okay, we're at fault. They haven't publicly announced it themselves. They've told the middlemen and
Yeah.
the people that are grading. So there's going to be a delay on this. 12 to 18 months is probably what I think. And when that happens, from what I've heard, they'll do the compensation based on the value difference between. So say it was a
That's
PSA
right.
10, you've got proof that it was mint, and they nicked it and it went down to a 9. They'll comp the difference. But as I've seen in circumstances, if you've graded a card that's pop 12 and there hasn't been a sale since 2019,
Yeah.
the market's changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's going to be. It's all right if you've graded a modern card that a Moonbryon, for instance, and you can tell
Yeah.
the difference. There's multiple sales all the time, but there is an issue with that. I think it's part of their like. A lot of people speculate that they're using AI to like grade now or pre-grade. They've got it in their process. They're trying to see it, and the top right is just getting nicked every time on like a lot of cards the way it's been aligned. Obviously, I can't see their process, but it makes
Yeah.
sense because it's happening before they're graded because the grade reflects the card. So it's happening before the cards are being graded. We can see this, and I had 2 cards in my most recent sub that there was a set of like 8 cards, and they should have all got 10s, and all the rest of them got 10s, but these 2 cards got nicked in the same corner. It's annoying. I'm not going to send my cards back because I don't want to wait 18 months.
Yeah.
I'll just send them as PSA 9s. But for some people that have, I know a couple of people that have had submissions of like 1,000 cards where like 250 of them were
Yeah.
damaged. That's a different and that's going to be a big payout and the more people talk about it, right, the more people that share it. I think the initial post I saw why one collector, it had like 15,500 shares. So it's going to get out there. This is the issue with grading so many cards, right, and trying to rush the process. And the other side of that as well which is another question I have, do you think we'll start to see a drop in the amount of cards being graded? Not just because of the damage that's happening, but in terms of if graded cards lose their demand and more people want to pick up raws, do you think the amount of people that are grading just to sell people will go, do you know what? I'll just sell it raw, or I'll just keep the card.
Definitely. But I think trying to track that information is going to be hard because you've just got so many different TCGs. You've got sport. What they grade is so just ranges so much, right? So even if it was like just isolated to Pokemon, I mean, I know you can kind of still track that, can't you? Like how many Pokemon cards have been graded. So maybe we could get some information about that. But me personally, like I think it does. Like I know for me, I've already, I sent off a sub, but having heard this information, I would much rather wait 3-6 months and then send it when these problems are resolved and there's no chance that my cards are going to get damaged. Or I think there was another instance where potentially they were just cards in general were coming back at lower grades than expected as well, almost as if they were grading harsher. So things like that, if I hear that, I'm like, well, I'm just not going to send them. I think the difference for me is that I'm not trying to grade them to sell. So there's no time limit there. These are just cards that I've got in my collection, personal collection. Maybe I would sell 1 or 2 here or there. Maybe I'd sell them all over the next 5 to 10 years. I don't really know, but my intention of getting them graded isn't purely to sell. It's just because it's fun. I want to see what they get. and it's nice to have that value associated with the card, knowing exactly what grade it is. So for people like me, I'm happy to wait. I'm happy to, I've waited the 18 months that PSA were closed. I can wait 3-6 months here and there. I really don't care. Like, it's absolutely fine. But yeah, perhaps people that do it as a business, it's really interesting. I don't know. Maybe they would just resort to selling them as raw singles. Maybe that could go down better for them. But again, that kind of relies on people buying them raw and then maybe buying them raw to grade. I don't know. It's a weird dynamic, isn't it?
There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
It's hard to gauge. I think I had my second PSA community sub ready that I was going to send, and I haven't sent it yet, and I've told Collectible Power that I don't intend to send it yet until I know that this isn't going to continue, because there's one thing, cards being damaged, and there's another obviously thing, as you said, about cards being undergraded. I didn't find any of my cards were undergraded. There's a couple of cards I need to look to more into detail, but I'm sure that there is something that I've missed myself. But for the most part, like, I was pretty happy with my sub. But yeah, it's a hard one. I'm in that middle ground of I'm grading half of my sub to keep for myself and half to sell. But I can do without not grading to sell.
Yeah. So you won't. Yeah.
So I just won't. It's just as simple as that. I haven't submitted to BGS since the last sub I sent out was February to BGS. And obviously I had that back, and I said I wasn't going to send back to Beckett again for a while. I've got maybe 100 cards that I want to send to Beckett. That's like Magic the Gathering, One Piece, Flesh and Blood. That I know will look better than in a BGS slab versus PSA, but I just haven't graded them. The cards aren't going anywhere. Until I'm happy with the service, then I'll just wait. Yeah,
and I don't know if you're aware, but BGS have recently also kind of been flagged up as grading harsher, lower rates of black labels. So again, I'm in the same boat. I've got a pile of cards that were meant for BGS, and they're just sat waiting. And I'm not going to send them in until things improve or go back to how they were, because why would I risk sending a card that's quite likely to get a lower grade than it would have a month or two ago? Like, it just doesn't. If it returns to that, then I'll send it in. So yeah, it's very weird that, like, both of these, top tier grading services are having issues at the same time. And yeah, for me, that's just a case of, it's fine, I won't grade. I'll wait till it all blows over. There's, problems are solved, things are sorted out, and then I can send them in. But yeah, it's definitely different if you're running a business that is based on that model. So, it's easy to say, well, because how I react to it, because of, like your case, because your sub came back with, grades that were fine, bar the two that got that corner damage. It's easy to just, take your situation and think that's how it is for everyone. So you've always got to bear that in mind, that you've got like a personal bias to how you react to it and what you do. Just because I'm not sending my sub in doesn't mean those people who sub like thousands and thousands of cards are going to stop sending their cards in. They probably won't.
No.
But yeah, it's definitely interesting to discuss and see what's going to happen in that space, because it's kind of crazy that all these things are kicking off at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I think there's a certain someone that I will get on the podcast actually that does fit that category that we just talked about.